No more time to slime, it's busting time. Here's your look at the Hasbro Ghostbusters Plasma series, the Ghostbusters Slimed versions. When ghastly ghouls and spooky specters come looking to paint the town dead, the Ghostbusters are ready to answer the call. Kids and collectors alike can imagine slimy struggles and eerie ecto encounters from the Ghostbusters universe, with figures from the Ghostbusters Plasma series. Featuring premium design, detailing, and articulation, these highly posable collection of action figures embodies the quality and realism Ghostbuster fans are looking to trap. Got a lot of Ghostbusters to cover off here, but before we actually have a closer look at the figures themselves and check out the slime that's covering them and their suits, let's first figure out how tall the figures actually stand. I'm going to grab my ruler just off camera. I'm going to put it right to the very top of Peter Venkman's head. They're all going to be roughly around the same height to one another. The figure stands at around 6 inches, maybe 6¼ inches in height, which works out to be a figure that's about 15½ or 16 centimeters tall. Now, the new slimed Ghostbuster Plasma Series figures are still using the same mold as the first wave Plasma Series figures that we've gotten before. Other than the slime being on their bodies isn't the only thing that's different about them. In fact, actually, I find like the new Plasma Series slimed Ghostbusters to be better with paint applications than the first wave that we got before. I'm going to bring in those Ghostbusters, earlier wave Ghostbusters, so you can see the difference between the two. There's Peter Venkman, and Peter Venkman behind him. There's Egon Spengler. Let's bring in Stantz. And we'll bring in Winston Zeddemore. Again, the first wave is in the front. The newer wave, the slime-covered versions, are the ones behind it. You can already see, like, the colors of their costumes are a lot more film accurate. And you may not even see it right now. We'll do more comparisons in a second. But actually, the face paint jobs are so much better on the new slime version than what we got with the original release. Let's bring in also a couple of other figures as well. Here they are next to Dana Barrett. And here they are also next to Gozer. I've been pretty happy, actually, with all the Plasma Series figures, even like the newer ones that we got with the Ghostbusters Afterlife. If anything, I feel that the only stumbling block may have been Gozer. Just a little too short. The face wasn't the greatest. But really, the rest of the Plasma Series figures have been really quite good. I think Hasbro's done a pretty good job with the licensing. I hope at some point we're going to be getting like more of the ghosts and not just covering off the same territory of the Ghostbusters. But again, when you see in a second how much difference the paint is and how much better the paint is on the new slime versions, might make for a valid reason why you may want to be picking up that wave, even if you already picked up the first wave Plasma Series Ghostbusters before. Accessory-wise, the figures all come included with the same thing: a Proton pack and a Proton stream. Unfortunately, there's no PKE meters and there's no ghost traps anywhere to be found in this current wave. So if you did still have the ones that came included with that first wave, hold on to them, because again, they're not going to come included with these figures. Each one of the Proton packs are actually unique to one another. They all are different, like snowflakes. If you look at the Proton packs, and we're going to just look at this one for the time being, I'm going to bring in the one that came included with the first wave. They are identical to one another. Yes, the paint is different, and the Proton packs, unique to each of the figures in the first wave. The little light here did change. They were in different places down below. But when you're looking at the two, they are using the exact same mold to one another, other than the fact that the brand new wave of Ghostbusters with the slime versions actually do have, of course, slime covered all over them. One thing I did like, at least, now getting all 4 of the figures, and they were all sold individually. I just decided to have a review of all 4 of them in this same video. But looking at the Proton packs, you can see like the slime isn't in the same place in all of them. So they didn't simply just use a template and say, okay, well, the slime has to be in the exact same place. No, actually, the Proton packs have different placement of slime. And again, we'll just grab, not that these all had to be uniquely with each of the characters. I don't even know if this one actually was for Ray's Stantz. But again, you see the idea. Like, they're all differently placed slime. So again, that's something different. They didn't just, slap on the slime in the same places. Even when we actually look at the costumes, the slime does change a little bit from each of their costumes that they're wearing as well. Now, there's the Neutrino wand that can detach from the side. I found actually that on these ones, the Neutrono wand actually attaches a little bit more securely. Whereas I had some of the issues with the original Proton packs that these didn't always stay in place. The length of the actual tubing seems like it also might be a little bit longer on the newer Proton packs than on the original ones. They were pretty long tubes in the first place, but I feel like the ones that come included with the slime versions are just a tad bit longer. One thing I also did notice as well, and it might just be my eyes playing tricks on me, is I noticed like the belts on many of these seem like they're a little bit not as wide. I mean, when you look at the two, it seems like the original Proton pack, the belt that goes across the waist seemed to be a little bit more wider. It still would have been a problem to go around Ray Stantz's waist because, of course, he's a little heavier in the stomach area. But yeah, it did seem like the original Proton packs were maybe just a little wider, a little more space allotted in the belt area. Again, it could be just my eyes playing tricks on me. The Proton packs attach the backs on the Ghostbuster figures the exact same way as the original wave. Basically, you're just going to take, I'll grab Peter Venkman here, for example. Just going to open up the belt area here. You can see it detaches by a peg. And then all you basically do is slip the one arm through like you're dressing a small child. Fits around the head. Bring up the arm. Plug in the back. You can see it attaches into the hole in the back here. And then it just tabs down below, back where we started from. Just like that. And there's, well, again, rinse and repeat times another 3. But that's basically what it looks like with the Ghostbuster Proton pack on their back. And again, from there, you can detach the Neutrono wand and fit this into his hand. The plastic in the hands are nice and soft, so very easy to manage. Just fit that into his one hand. And then literally on the other hand, we'll just grab the end of the Neutrono wand. We'll bend the elbow here. One good thing is that all these figures do have double hinges on their elbows, though a little tighter on these figures. I would rather, again, tight joints than super loose joints. And there's the, let's just get the hand clipped around completely around the handle there. There we go. There's Peter Venkman with his Proton pack. And again, it works the exact same way on all the other Ghostbusters, so I'm not going to do it with every single one of them, because again, we don't want to eat up the entire video doing that. And then each one of the Ghostbusters also come with a Neutrono stream, or Proton stream. Attaches the same way as the original ones, just fits over the end of the nozzle. And then you got that. Now here's the thing. Here's my input in all of this, my 2 cents. These were the original ones that came included with the Ghostbusters. I can certainly understand why they would have added the slime on the back of the Proton pack, and I certainly can understand, being that these are slimed version Ghostbusters, that they would cover the slime on their faces and their costumes. I don't know why necessarily they had to change the coloring of the neutrino or neutrono beam. The stream itself, I would have thought, would stay the same. It's not like the beam itself is all of a sudden be covered in slime. It certainly has a more slime-colored green color instead of the more traditional blue that they went with the original wave. Again, this is the original Proton stream. This is the newer stream that comes included with the figures. For me, being the fact that we already have Proton streams coming included with these figures, I may have saved the plastic to produce these, and maybe instead thrown in a couple of ghost gadgets, like PK meters, a couple of ghost traps, maybe some more ecto goggles. Throw more of that stuff in, because I'm always fine for the idea of getting some ghost gadgets instead. Anyways, let's go ahead and take the Neutrono wand out of Pete's hands. We'll go ahead and just attach this back onto his back. And again, there's a little peg hole there on the back of the Neutrono wand, and that fits just to the peg there on the side of the Proton pack. Fit that in place. Should we keep the Proton pack on, Peter? Yeah, why not? We'll do it for the time being. We'll leave it off for the other guys in this group, but for Peter, we'll keep it on for the time being. I want to bring in the original Peter Venkman so you guys can see the difference between the two. Now, this is something that's going to be, I find, a consistent trend with all of the figures that we're going to be looking at in this wave. Vast improvements on paint jobs. Starting first with the face. Well, I wasn't disappointed necessarily with the head sculpt that they went with for Peter Venkman on the original release. I found like all the faces are a little on the muted side. It's not then until you see the newer slime versions, you see like the paint job I find is so much better. The eyes are a little clearer to see. This actually makes his eyes look a little more cloudy, or like he feels like he wants to take a nap. The skin tone also is a little bit more natural, whereas I found like all the original Ghostbusters had kind of an off-colored skin. You can see how much more vibrant and more alive the skin looks like on the new slime-covered versions. Not to mention, really, when you're looking at the costumes. I don't know if I even had said it when we looked at the review of these guys, but I found like the color of the costume was way too pale, too light of a color, and not close enough to matching the movie. Yet when we look at the new slime-colored versions, slime-covered versions, not only, again, you've got the No Ghost logo, which is a little clearer, I have to say, also on the shoulder. The name badge also looks like it's a little clearer, but also the colors of the costumes look so much better. Again, this is the newer one. This is the original one. I don't know. Do you see a difference? I certainly see a difference. On to now Egon. Let's go ahead and pick the figure up. Now, each one of these figures not only are covered in slime, but the slime is also glow in the dark as well. I'll show you guys how that is in a second. But just spin the figure around so you can see it from all the sides. I'm not actually going to put the Proton packs on Egon or of the other two figures either, just because, again, we already did that with Peter Venkman. I mean, like, the slime is okay, but how much better the paint is on all these figures, I'm really actually contemplating seeing if I could maybe take a percentage of rubbing alcohol and see if I can actually take off that slime, not only just on the face, but the rest of the costume as well. At least they didn't go the route of the marshmallow covering. That's usually something that they always do with a re-release of Ghostbusters. Diamond Select did that as well with theirs. You usually get the same figures, and then they're covered the next wave with maybe marshmallow slime. Anyways, though, I'm going to grab here Egon Spengler from the first wave so you can see the difference between the two. Doesn't the face look so much better on the new Egon than it does on the original one? Again, there was nothing really wrong with the original one, but now you get a chance to really see the difference between the two. And then you start kind of opening your eyes and realizing, yeah, the other ones were fine, but the new ones are so much vastly better. I still feel like I would want to go in there and take the slime off. Because not only, again, like the colors of the costumes are a little bit more accurate here, but like the face again, it's much clearer on his glasses. You can make out his eyes a little bit better. And again, the skin tone that they use for these newer wave of figures looks so much better than the more paler complexion that they did for the original releases. Let's move Egon out of the way. Articulation, because we haven't yet covered it off with these figures, is going to be the exact same on all of them. So like the heads are on ball joints. They rotate all the way around. You have them looking up, down, back, and forth. Arms do come out at about a 90 degrees. I guess you could go a little higher than 90 if you really wanted to. Maybe about there. The arms also allow to rotate all the way around. There is a swivel on the bicep, about 3/4 of the way up. There's a cut there. That allows the arms to rotate all the way around. Double hinge on the elbows. 1 and 2. Hands rotate all the way around. All the figures have upper torso ball joints. Legs that split out, go forward and back on the legs. A swivel 3/4 of the way up the thigh. Double hinge on the knee, which is a little tighter on these figures, but a double hinge on the knee. And then not only they have articulation where you can move the boots up and down this way, but there's also ankle pivot. So you can move the boots also this way. By the way, as well, the figures all have pegals on the undersides of their feet, even though they don't technically come included with display stands. I guess if you wanted to, you could probably use a display stand from another figure line and have the figures posed in a more dynamic pose than just having them simply standing there. On to Ray's stands next, and you may have already noticed too when we look at the other two figures that the placement of the slime on their costumes are in different areas, as well as also on their faces. Speaking of faces, let's bring in the original Ray stands we got from the first wave. I feel like somebody had commented in that review that the character's face looked a little like Paul Reiser. Yeah, I see a little bit of Paul Reiser. What I also see as well is that the paint seems so much better once again, on Ray's stance. We seem to be consistent here with at least my feelings seem to be consistent with all the figures that we've looked at so far. Again, I have to imagine that they're using the same head sculpt, and yet the paint would fool me and make me think that they've retooled brand new heads, which I don't think is the case. The skin tone is so much brighter here in Ray's face. It also seems as well, looking at his face up close like this, for a second it almost looks like you can see a little bit of teeth showing in between his lips. I think it's probably just the way they've painted in the lips. But yeah, so much better though between the two heads. I prefer, once again, the slime versions. Still make me thinking I want to now take off the slime on these figures so I can have more screen-accurate Ghostbusters. Once again, the costumes are the same to one another, even has the more portlier belly here on Ray's stance. The Proton pack fits still difficultly around Ray's body. In fact, once again, we can kind of just grab a Proton pack. We haven't done this, well, not since Peter. Let's go ahead and just detach this once again. I'm doing this only because Ray's body is a little bit different. We're going to bring, again, the arms out. I know you've already seen this by now. Slide the arms straight through. Fit this over his slightly larger looking head. There we go. Take the back, plug it into the back of his torso. And then do your best to try to fit that around and plug it into place. Ray is, again, usually the one that you're going to have issues with, just because, again, it's got to fit around his beer belly. I didn't want to draw too much attention to it, but sorry, Ray, it's a little more difficult to get that Proton pack around your waist. You can barely get it around there. I wish they could have made a few additional allowances when it came to Ray's Proton pack, but it seems like all the Proton packs are the same. They didn't allot for a little extra space to fit around Ray's. But anyways, again, there he is with the Proton pack. Slime in different places. Oh, actually, that, you know what? I grabbed the wrong Proton pack. We might as well do it accurately. Let's just take that one off. Let's grab one that actually does have the slime. There's the one that has the slime on it. Not that it really matters. I mean, they're all the same Proton packs anyways, but just to make it a little more accurate to the fact that these were the ones that came included with the figure, quickly making that adjustment. Let's go. Speaking of adjustment, fitting that around his waist. I mean, it stays a little bit better, I guess, if you have the belt a little bit further up. If you have it a little bit further down, you're going to be struggling to plug that back in place. All right, now where were we? Take the Neutrino wand, plug it into the back of the Proton pack. Yeah, there we go. There's Ray Stantz. Again, much better than the original Ray that we got before. The colors more accurate, at least again in those coveralls. And again, like the head sculpt and the paint, so much better on this line in this release instead. Lastly, we can have a look at Winston Zeddemore. For no other reason than the fact that he joined the team later on. We'll keep him for last. And again, we'll just grab the Winston Zeddemore just off camera here so you can see again the difference between the two. I personally did like Winston Zeddemore's face before, but I love it so much more now. The teeth, more easier and clearer to see, not to mention as well the eyes. All of the eyes really on the first wave of Ghostbuster Plasma Series figures looked cloudy. Like you were really having a tough time making out the eyes, and especially the pupils on Winston Zeddemore. I remember that being a big issue with the figure. It seems now fixed. Not only are the eyes darker, but they're much easier to read on his face. The costume is exactly the same. I didn't mention this earlier, but you guys already know by now that all the Ghostbusters share the same body except for Peter Venkman. He doesn't really like to tuck his pant legs in. I don't know why. He likes just to drape them out. But yeah, the slime, as you can see, is all over the side of Winston's leg, all over the side of his gloves, the front of his torso, and the section on his shoulders, not to mention the side of his face as well. One other option that you could have as well is to take the heads off these, and you can certainly put them onto here, but then you'd still have the slime on their face. But if it's anything like their Transformer figures, and that's kind of off me talking about Transformers, but when we had done the War for Cybertron, they all had that battle damage. You could actually go in there with a little bit of rubbing alcohol carefully to remove that additional damaged effect. I wonder if you can actually do that with the slime here as well. I mean, again, they market it, they advertise this as being glow-in-the-dark. I mean, glow-in-the-dark's fine and good, but for how much better these figures are, I really feel compelled once again to go in there with a Q-tip and just very, very, not super strong rubbing alcohol, but being the fact that this is the coloring of the plastic anyways, I don't think I would bleach the plastic too badly. Yeah, I do think I want to go in there and maybe try to remove the slime off of these figures. Articulation-wise, I mean, even though we've already looked at it earlier, is the exact same in all the figures. Up, down on the head. Again, there's that ball joint working there. Arms come out. Again, you can rotate the arms all the way around. Swivel on the bicep. Double hinge again on the elbow. And you can again rotate the hands all the way around. Upper torso ball joint. Again, split on the legs. Didn't we already do this? We did already do this. Legs split forward and back on the legs. 3/4 of the way up the thighs, a swivel cut. And again, you have that double hinge on the knee. Articulation on the boot. Up and down, up and down. And again, you got that ankle pivot there as well. All the same 4 figures, all share the same articulation, and really, again, share all the same accessories. The thing about it, though, is I know if you already have picked up the first wave of Plasma Series figures, you may have even seen these advertised online. I certainly saw these advertised on many sites. Surprisingly, many sites still advertising a pre-order for these for January 2022. I just found these on a local website that shipped them right away. But again, if you already have that first wave of Ghostbuster figures, I mean, it really is a debatable topic as to whether you'd want to pick these figures up again. I'm bringing them all in. I feel, again, there's enough changes made to these figures. Bringing these all in so you can see, again, the difference. Just, again, the colors of the costumes, the paint job they've done on the face is so much better than the original releases. That even, again, if you already have this wave of Ghostbusters, I personally still think it's well worth getting the back wave, or the current wave, the slime-covered wave of Ghostbuster figures. And again, the fact that these also do glow-in-the-dark probably would make then some sense to show you the glow-in-the-dark feature on these figures. Let's go ahead and just cut off the lights and I'll show you guys what that looks like. With the lights cut out, Peter Venkman, although it was probably a little harder to see that this was Peter Venkman, as you can see, glows quite brightly. Depending on how long you have this sitting in front of the lamplight will dictate how bright and how long the slime will glow for. Again, it's a nice gimmick to incorporate with the figures for a reason, just to include some additional slime on top of the figures, but still, as good as this gimmick is to glow in the dark, I'm more likely just to try to remove it instead and have better looking Ghostbuster figures than the first wave that we got before. I would have had such an easier time reviewing the new Ghostbuster Plasma Series glow-in-the-dark slime Ghostbusters if they were just simply the same figures that we got from the first wave, covered in glow-in-the-dark paint. It would be then easier for me to say that the figures are only really worth picking up if you're a diehard fan of the Ghostbuster figures and you don't mind getting the same ones that we got before, covered again in glow-in-the-dark paint. And while it may look like that at face value, upon closer inspection, and not that much closer inspection either is required, do you not notice how much better these figures are from that first wave that we got? I did my best to do this in the review to show you guys the differences between the first wave and these new Ghostbuster figures, and you could probably even see as well for yourself that not only are these figures featuring better, more screen-accurate uniforms, but also their faces and the features on their faces are so more clear and easier to read on these figures than what we got with the first wave. It's not until you really compare the two that you notice how more washed out their faces were on the first wave, not to mention how pale their costumes were, and certainly not something that was screen accurate. This is certainly a case where even though we are getting a repaint of that first wave, this repaint is much better than that first wave. Again, to the point where I'm even considering, I might even try to go online and see what kind of rubbing alcohol I need to purchase. You don't want to use the super strong stuff. Nail polish remover is a bad no-no idea. But if I can find something sensitive enough to be able to take the paint off of these figures, I might even try to do that. I don't mind the glow-in-the-dark green paint. And at least it's not marshmallow fluff. That's usually the direction that they go always with a next wave of Ghostbuster figures using the same molds as before. Let's always just dump them with marshmallow fluff. But at least in this case, we got slime covering over their bodies. But I would prefer, for how much better these figures look, to take the slime off completely and have more screen-accurate looking Ghostbusters on my shelf than what we got with that first wave. Now, this wave right now, again mentioned earlier, most of the online sites seem to be pre-ordering these guys the first month, or January, the first month into the 2022 new year. These figures, actually, I did find earlier. I found these over on, I think it was commandstore.ca, a local online site where I seem to be picking up a lot of my figures. It's not a plug necessarily for their site, but I was able to find these figures, I think, a little bit earlier than some of the online sites that are still showing these figures being pre-ordered. Again, if you are a big fan of the Ghostbusters Plasma Series, you had that first wave already in your collection, I don't know if maybe this review may be a nudge in the direction of wanting to pick up, again, a double dipping of the same figures, but I almost feel, again, like this double dipping is better than the first wave that we got before. Agree with me? Disagree with me? Let me know down below in the comments section what you guys think of the brand new Hasbro Ghostbusters glow-in-the-dark slime Ghostbusters. That's going to be difficult to put that all in the title. If you guys are new to this channel, you're enjoying the content that you're seeing, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below, turn on the bell notification, and make sure that, yes, you're coming back to this channel because there will be more reviews lined up and coming your way. As always, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.